Hello, Steelers Nation, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Steel City Insider podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremy Ritz, alongside the publisher of the Steel City Insider, Jim Wexell. And today we have back on the show, Mr. Craig Wolfley. You all know him. And Craig, reading your column this week, Circle of Trust, you talked about the big difference in this game being the quarterback, Russell Wilson. Let's start there.
Well, Russell Wilson is a known presence. I mean, he's a known commodity. This is a guy that's been there, done that in a number of years. I mean, we're talking about a Super Bowl winner. He's lost one, but he's also multiple Pro Bowls. This guy's got street credentials wherever you want to go. In any stadium from the East Coast to the West Coast, this guy will rise to it. And one of the things that I love about him is because he will portray a confidence that maybe you're not feeling all the time, but when you're in that huddle, what I like to call the circle of trust in a laughing sort of way, but really, as you're in that group, you have all those eyes on you. You better portray some confidence, and that's what Russ Wilson does.
And it's funny how they seem to be backtracking in Denver. They're looking at the guy who was accusing him of toxic positivity, and they're saying, "What were you talking about?" You know, they're saying, geez, maybe it had to do with a bad defense and a stupid coach and all this and all that. Because, I mean, it's meshing, and that positivity is paying off. Like on the sideline, telling Mike Williams, hey, dude, I need you to do this when you're out there next time. Mike Williams, yeah. I mean, I'm glad there's a quarterback talking to me now. You know?
Yeah.
Speaking of the toxic negative.
Think about this in the huddle. You are Mike Williams. You're just landing in this team, Pittsburgh. You're surrounded by guys that don't really know you, only know you that you wore a different jersey just a couple of weeks before. Now you're asked to perform a route that you've never run with your quarterback at a time when you haven't even had a target yet. You're out there in the fourth quarter at the biggest part of the game. You've got everything wearing on you, and the route that you're asked to run is the one that your old quarterback got you fired and traded, just a couple of weeks before. I mean, how you can write that up in a way that, Jim, you're as good an author as I know, and you couldn't write that scenario, I don't think.
I think you did a pretty good job today, with the circle of trust and leading us into what you just said about Mike Williams. And, you can just tell the story. It writes itself. Mike talked to us last Wednesday, and he was all, I'll do anything. I'm just glad to be here. I feel like I'm in a dream. I've known who Mike Tomlin is for so long. It's such a cool place. I love this team already. Preston Smith was saying the same thing. And he was a backup in practice. It didn't faze him. He gets this. Mike Tomlin, it didn't faze him. I don't have to rush this guy out there. I've been working two other guys. I'm not just throwing them away. And then one gets hurt. It's how it's supposed to be. It's how you're supposed to coach. It's how you're supposed to act as a player. Calvin Austin, you're going to talk to him this week. He's going to say, hey, man, that dude's pretty good. What do you want me to say? Don't find something for Calvin. He's too fast. He's coming on. He's showing a lot. Maybe Van Jefferson gets he's the one that gets the playing time diminished. But this is all playing out. If you do it the right way, you don't shove this guy right into the starting lineup for no good reason. Now there's a good reason.
There's no question. Jim, think about that play. You go 3-and-1. You got three receivers to the right of Russ. You got one to the left of Russ. You got one runs a go route. That would be George Pickens right down, deep, pulls the safety over. At the snap of the ball, the other safety was deep, rotated up to take on Jaylen Warren, who came out of the backfield, when he was lined up next to Russ. You've got this unbelievable twist stunt. Bobby Wagner and two defensive linemen run a twist stunt. It's right in the face of Russ. Russ doesn't let the ball go until Mike Williams is on the 23-yard. Are you kidding me? On the 23-yard line, and you have all the trust in the world that you're going to put that ball exactly where you want it. And Mike Williams has all the trust in the world to not look for the ball until he's down around the 2-yard line, somewhere in there. I don't know. To me, that's just such a remarkable event to do this in a hostile stadium against a very good team and have all those factors come together and you're able to pull this off. That's what makes it special. That's why I think Russ Wilson showed us a great example of what a franchise quarterback looks like yet again.
Now, what does this do to Pickens? Does he diminish? Does he shrink?
Oh, no, I don't think he diminishes. But I mean, take a look at what happened earlier when he caught that unbelievable. He did a triple Lindy with a full half twist gainer. I don't know what do you call that. He caught the ball in the end zone while he's playing the rubber band man in the middle of the air. You know what I mean? I look at that and I go, that is terrific athleticism. That's unbelievable. This is something that will grow in my mind. It's going to grow and continue to grow because you've got some great athleticism, and now the addition of a Mike Williams also presents itself in a way that, you know what? I guess Omar Khan not only knows what he's doing, but he knows a whole heck of a lot more than what the rest of us know.
Well, let's this was his last choice too. Let's
you know
give some of
what?
the credit to Mike
Maybe
Williams.
it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't. We don't know all of what went on behind the scenes.
Well, we know he was chasing Ayuk. We know he was chasing Cooper Kupp.
Right, but maybe it didn't feel right. It wasn't the right asking price. I don't know. All I know, I love the magical result that just occurred. That's tremendous.
I mean, we were talking about Mike Williams on these podcasts too. I don't know that I thought a fifth might have been a little high, but then again, they didn't have a sixth, and they trained a seventh for their next starting pass rusher.
I don't know. All I can tell you is how the deal worked out. It was so beautifully crafted on that play, the way they ran it, because the safe throw was to Freiermuth in the flat. He was all by himself. Van Jefferson ran an out, Pickens ran a go, and Freiermuth had a tight end delay. He's sitting there by his lonesome. It's a first down. But that's not Russ Wilson. He's going for the jugular. He's going for the throat. I love that. That's what franchise quarterbacks do. That's what Super Bowl winning quarterbacks do. They have a faith, they have a belief that exudes from the huddle. So when you're in the huddle and you got that guy and you got 10 pairs of eyeballs staring at the man, you look at him and you know and believe that he's going to somehow rescue you, whatever, is going on. He's going to pull your fannies out of the fire. And that's the way it was with Bradshaw. Talking with Max, that's the way it was with Ben, and now the opportunity to do this yet again with a guy like Russ Wilson, to me, is just terrific.
Well, I also think there's an element of that's his throwaway when there's a lot of pressure. One of those two guys are going to be deep. That can be his throwaway.
What a throwaway.
I know. Why not?
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, all I know is I'm watching the rush come through. He's got hands in his face. He doesn't release the ball until, as we talked about, and yet he dropped it in the perfect spot. That was like I said, there's no better way to describe that than to say it was perfect. And that's exactly what it was.
Jeremy, I know you have other topics, but one more, Russ. I mean, the winning quarterback didn't finish this thing until he really put some savvy on him. I know you talked about cadence in your column today, Wolf, and you did mention the hurry up, but I think that hurry up element, when they rushed to the line, I think that tightened all the sphincters right away, especially the rookie.
No question about it.
But
here's the key, Jim. Think about this, all right? If that had been, say, 4th and 5 or 6, no rushing, they'd have been a lot more relaxed. When I'm saying the defensive line of the Commanders, it's the 1 yard. It's right there, and now you're on a hair trigger, and I can't tell you the amount of adrenaline pouring out of you at that moment in time. Now, if you got the instructions in the huddle that says, we're not snapping the ball, you want to come out with the same sort of vigor, be a good, as Chuck Noll used to say, be a good actor. Be a good, because he would say on the screen passes, be a good actor. You gotta let them, oh, you're beating me. Oh, okay. And then you get out there and you slam the fly trap on somebody, right? But that's exactly what it was, to break that huddle, get up there, and everybody's snorting on the offensive line. You look and see the linemen are turning and talking to each other just like they're coming off the ball. That created that sense of drama, that sense of hair trigger. And when you're down there and you're hunched over that ball, I mean, just a sneeze will set everybody off,
Well, here's the thing. I'm sitting at home, and of course, oh, he's sending them out on the field. They're gonna try to draw him off. But when they rushed to the line, I thought they're gonna go for it because I saw Tom Brady do that and sneak for 6 yards right 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 as soon as he
Right.
got to the line every time.
Absolutely.
So I thought, oh, Russ is going to do with Tom Brady. But there was also this. This team went for it on 4th and 16 from their own 15. Of course they're going for it here.
That's a true statement, man.
You loved that play, didn't you, Jim?
Oh, no, no. But I mean, I see the other benefit for Johnny Newton, the rookie defensive tackle. He was thinking, of course they're going for it. They're not trying to draw me off. Oops, they were.
I can tell you, and as I said in the column, I know because I know that they were specifically warned prior to the snap.
Yeah.
I just know. We can talk otherwise.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Wolf, I like how you put it in your column too. Weaponizing the snap count. I've never heard that.
Let me tell you something. Good quarterbacking, top shelf quarterbacking comes with a quarterback that's able to vary his cadence and hit those hard counts. And here's the problem. That can work both ways. You get, your offensive lineman, if you're not really listening or like geared into what's going on as far as the snap count, you might jump, that's the greatest shame going. I mean, have pre-snap jumping when the quarterback's hard count. One time we went on 4 and all 4 of us went on 3. And that was the last time we went on 4. We couldn't count that high, I guess.
Well, we want to shift gears a bit. And Jim, you said in your opinion column that this team is in the perfect state of mind ahead of the biggest game of the season so far, and that's obviously the Ravens, 1:00 in Pittsburgh. Looking ahead, this is a huge game.
Yeah. And the odds makers came out and helped them out too by making them 3-point underdogs. I mean, that's just beautiful. This is a team that's happy, that likes each other. They like playing. It's not just getting up for the big team. It's getting up as an underdog after having so much fun last week. And wow, we got new toys to play with. And look, Russ is really smart too.
Exactly. Because this has started this belief in that guy. If you've got to have that guy in the huddle that everyone really believes in. And when he goes out and he starts to do things and say things, now guys listen more. They're more geared in because it's like I always say, not everybody enters the stadium with the same amount of RPMs going on mentally as they did as the next guy or they did the week before, week after. I mean, all the variances of life roll into what a ball player takes into the stadium and into a game on Sunday. That's one of the reasons why you got a 5 days out, a 4 day out, 3 day, 2 day, 1 day routine to make sure you cover everything that you need and to be mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually ready to go when it's kickoff time. And it's a big deal, man. And so you've got to be ready. When I see those guys come down through the tunnel, I can still put myself in Three Rivers, walking out of the locker room, making that left-hand turn, knowing as I'm standing there and I can feel the vibrations of the fans in the stands, back in circa 1980s, and you feel all that electricity before you come out on the field. That same thing goes on at Acrisure. And, it's an incredible moment for every player each and every time you step out on that field. It's hard to describe if you've not had that opportunity to do it, but man, let me tell you something. It's a wonderful moment.
Well, I don't know about the fans at 1:00 being electric, but this team is going to be electric. Just what you're saying, Wolf. And you know what? It'll be an exhausting, emotional game for them, second in a row. And even if they win or lose, whatever, I don't see them going into a stinky shell, a letdown shell mode Thursday night. They're going to go to Cleveland, especially if they win, man. They win this game and go 2 games up. They're going to be like, how much more fun can we have in 3 days? Oh,
That's
Cleveland?
exactly it. You're right. You're right, man. You are absolutely right.
And talking about the Ravens, it's going to be a tall task. Obviously, Lamar Jackson, or Mr. Jackson, as Mike Tomlin said, we should refer to him. What types of challenges, outside of the obvious ones, with Jackson, is this Ravens offense going to present to this solid Steelers defense?
It's going to be interesting to see how they attack Mr. Jackson, to use Mike Tomlin's word. He is really an incredible performer. He's capable in the arm with the legs. Jaden Daniels was a nice run up, kind of like a nice little scrimmage to set up before. But, there's a reason that Lamar is a two-time NFL MVP. I think it is 2 times or whatever it is. The guy is just that good. And they're going to have to do a lot of things. You're going to have some of the rules, especially on the RPOs, much as they did with Jaden Daniels. They had a nice rush lane. They were very aggressive in rushing the passer, but yet they were disciplined. And they made sure to keep a body on Jaden Daniels so that he couldn't get loose, couldn't get the 55, 65, 70 yards hidden vigorous rushing total that he's been getting each and every game. Well, the same thing is going to be for Lamar Jackson. You've got to be able to put a hurting on him. You got to whack him. Every chance you get, you got to put him in the dirt, because that tends to take a little steam off him, tends to make him a little bit more inaccurate. But you've got to make sure, especially on those RPOs, that you got to make sure that the end man on the line and one of the linebackers have to be very much in communication, in communicado, about who's got what, who's got the pitch, who's got the mesh point, slow play it, crash it. What are you going to do? Those things have to all be dialed up, ready to go, and they've got to be executed at a high level.
Absolutely, playing Jaden Daniels really is perfect the week before playing Lamar Jackson. But Mr. Henry is something else.
Yeah, yeah, for a moment, I think I had a mental little blurb and forgot about the fact that that King Henry was there. This is going to be a challenge of challenges because of the fact you have that mesh point, you have the pitch capability, you have the handoff with one of the most dynamic, if not the most dynamic, physical running back in the NFL right now in Derrick Henry. And the way they use Patrick Ricard, their 300-pound fullback / nose tackle / backup guard. I don't even know all the things that he plays, but it is the most creative use I've ever seen of a H-back. They will position him as an H-back and at the point of attack. He'll be the lead guy on the zone split when you got a guy coming across the wham. They'll use him as a second guy as a trailer on the counter trays. They use him as a fullback to ISO on a linebacker. I'd hate to be Patrick Queen having to take on 300-pound Patrick Ricard, on a straight isolation play. But it's very unique. They will take Patrick Ricard and have him work on the backside of the center and scooping the center to the second level linebacker. Who does that? I've never seen it before by anybody else but the Baltimore Ratbirds, as Myron used to call them.
I don't think that Peyton Wilson's playing poorly and deserves to be benched. Benched is a strong word. Have snap count decrease. But Elandon Roberts is too good. He's too good. I know what the coach has been trying to do in modern football is have faster inside linebackers, but Elandon Roberts refused to go away. and I know Patrick Queen had his best game yet.
Yeah.
But Elandon Roberts really deserves the playing time he's getting, and he deserves more. And I assume he will get more against Derrick Henry and Ricard. And that's the kind of inside linebacker it takes.
He is just that guy on first and second downs, especially based on the personnel package and the rundowns, whether it's a high run probability or pass probability. But playing him, I'm telling you what, man, his downhill bang is just terrific. I mean, like I said, I like to call him 23andMe because of the fact that if you get a 23andMe test after he hits you, he'll probably show up on your family history. But the fact is, whether you want to call him Big General, which is another nickname he's got out there, or the 23andMe, you're going to get a big hit. And he did on the very first series, if you remember, against the Washcoms, right? Came downhill. I remember the left guard, Nick Andretti, was double teaming with the center, and Elandon blew by him so fast that it reminded me of the one time when the first time I played Lawrence Taylor and he went by me on a twist stunt. And I remember thinking, did somebody just go by? And then the thought came, look out. But the fact is, that's how fast he scraped, and he made a great tackle in the backfield for a loss. And that's what you get with Elandon Roberts. The guy is a defensive leader, a defensive banger, and he's a noted big hitter.
The first play of the game, he came so fast that they said, Patrick Queen with the tackle. I said, wasn't that 50? Until I rewatched the game the next morning. That was Elandon Roberts. I
It
thought
was.
so. Yeah.
No question about it. And I got a lot of respect for his game.
Yeah. And if we look at the flip side there, the Steelers offense against this Ravens defense, they can apply lots of pressure, but they've been giving up a lot of yardage, lots of points. You guys see any matchups there that the Steelers are going to be looking to take advantage of?
I can't say personally yet exactly where I'm at. And it takes me, several days to kind of, let that percolate in my gourd. We'll see what we've got matchup wise. I know, especially in my mind, Matabwike and the other defensive line, this is going to be a matchup serious for a young offensive line. These guys really come off the ball. And Michael Pierce is, I don't know, he's like the human equivalent of a bowling ball. The man's massive, and he's just one of these guys that does not move very easily in any direction. But the fact he's one of those pluggers. Certainly, I look at Mason McCormick and especially for Zach Frazier. This is going to be a real test for these guys because they're going to come at you hard, and it's going to be a hard hitting game.
I like to see them pass to set up the run. They have the receivers now. This is only going to open up the middle for Freiermuth, and the Ravens don't really have a pass rusher, do they?
I haven't looked at all the stats yet, so I'm not exactly familiar quite yet. I do know this. It doesn't take a designated pass rusher to make a pass rusher when you're in the heat of the battle. All I know is some guys suddenly get it. They might have not been doing much and suddenly come off, Other guys, maybe you got a rep and you don't show up. Again, it's one of those things that makes football so enlivening, so fantastic, and so wonderful. And that's the competition of the game and the moment. And the two trains, one track. Look, you don't need anything more than knowing that. I love it. That's the best qualifying statement I've ever heard about this rivalry.
Yeah.
Well, I thought Najee had a cool moment when he gave the football to Zach Frazier to spike.
Yeah.
And so I thought, and Zach, you know how happy that guy is about everything.
Right.
So he slammed that ball down. And I'm like, man, I got to go back and see. Did Frazier make the key block for Najee? No, Najee actually ran the other way, but Zach stood Darren Payne up, who you noticed as the number one run stopper on the Washington line. Stood him up and turned him all by himself. It didn't help Najee. Najee went the other way, but that's Zach Frazier.
Oh, he got his walk. That's all
coming.
that matters. It doesn't matter. I don't care if the guy goes the wrong way, and I don't touch him. That's my guy. He's out of the way. That's the point. Now, I got to say there was one other great moment that I just loved. That was after the offsides penalty by Newton, right? If you saw him, go back and watch Mason McCormick. He looks like Rodney Dangerfield in Caddyshack doing the Caddyshack dance at the end. It's hilarious. I love it. Good for Mason McCormick. Good to show some of that personality out there. Good for him that he was part of a group that put a hurting and a smackeration on them. That's just a great job.
I heard DVE Morning Show, Pursuit was talking to Bill Crawford about something on the internet about that play. That they say every time you look at this, there's a little thing going on Twitter. Every time you look at this, pick a new face to look at. And there's a whole nother story in each new face.
Right. That's exactly it. How they're all celebrating, how they're all joyful, how they're all excited. Number one, because none of them jumped. Okay. Nobody else jumped. You're not the fall guy. All right. That's relief there. That's job number one. Okay. Then number two is you're going to win. And number three was, again, Mason McCormick doing the Rodney. I'm telling you what, it's just wonderful.
I got to see this. I got to see this because Mason's a cool guy. I enjoy talking to him.
Yes, and you know what? He's a smart young man. Besides being a powerful dude, and he's got a mean streak as long as his body. Man. I love watching him play. He's not afraid to put a little jelly on his work, just like Zach Frazier and some of the other guys.
You know what's funny is Ciamalo's the elder, right? And
Yes.
he doesn't talk to the media. He's made it clear that he will, but he really doesn't like it. And it's hard to get stuff from him. So, all right, we got all these other young kids that like to talk. But he's like the daddy, right? The
Right.
quiet. He's taking care of all these guys. And he's still the best lineman, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting. Everything else is developing on this team is interesting. This line is really interesting. Watching them develop under Ciamalo, the quiet guy that really is kind of crabby and cranky, but is wise.
Apparently, but here's the key. Pat Myers says he's like E.F. Hunting in the meetings. When he speaks, everybody listens.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the thing. That's the recognition of his status as kind of the group leader there, as a guy that's been there, done that. And all those guys, you always pay the due respect. Mike Webster in my day, that was John Kolb, that was Larry Brown, that was Moon Mullins, guys like that. They had earned their spurs, and they were the veterans, and they were kind of like the dads of the room, no doubt about it. And you have respect for that. There's a great amount of respect for somebody who's played that long and at that high a level. So when he speaks and he talks about stuff, because he doesn't talk much, as Pat says, but when he talks, it's usually something that everybody needs to hear.
Well, Wolf, I would think that all of our listeners out there would say the same about you. When you talk, Steelers Nation listens. And what a treat it's been to hear your guys' take on the game. We've got two trains, one track coming this weekend, 1 p.m. in Pittsburgh, Acrisure Stadium. We're going to be here next week to talk all about that. But gentlemen, as we wrap up, anything you guys want to shout out or give a plug to?
Can't think of anything off the top of my very flat head, brother, but thanks for the opportunity. It's great to see you as always, and great to be on with my buddy Jim as usual. So again, thank you for the opportunity.
I didn't get to chat my book up last week, Jeremy, but Jerry Dulac wrote it up in the Post-Gazette, wrote it up so nice, said how pretty it is, and the paper stock and all other big words that Jerry uses that I was nice to see. And so I'm very proud of the book. It's very good looking, and I think it reads okay too. And so you can get it at jimwexels.com. And I'll give you a little
inscription. I got it right here, baby. Yeah, right there. It's one of the, if not the best book about Steelers history I've ever seen. I say that truthfully, and I say that in a very loving fashion, because it took a lot of love to put this baby together, let me tell you.
Hold it up more so we can see the bottom, Wolf.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't see.
There you go. There you go.
All right, good.
All right.
I can't see anything but the back of it.
All right. So you can get that at jimwexel.com, Barnes & Noble's books, independent bookstores, and Amazon.com.
All right. And we'll have that all linked in the show notes for you so you can check that out. And the holidays are coming up, so perfect timing. But that's going to do it for episode 131. We'll see you back here next week, hopefully talking another Steelers victory. Take care, gentlemen.
Take care, boys.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.